back with another episode of Morphy's Games of Chess. Here we have game number 19 coming up. It's a little oddball of a game because it was lumped in with the American Chess Congress. Yes, the American Chess Congress was just held in New York, and we went over those games. Morphy clearly winning it, hands down, no contest, right? But here we got an extra game lumped in. Okay, why is this game 19 included with this chapter? All right, let me go back to the biography and explain it a little bit here. All right, we got the, let's see. Got to dig through it, all right? Forgive me, I'm not prepared, all right? I'm a little off this morning. All right, here we go. So now it says here, get a load of this. Let's see, okay. It says, while the tournament was in progress, Morphy had engaged in much offhand play with the other competitors and with a few players not taking part in the championship. In those days when there was no time limit, tournament chess appears to have been less exhausting than it is now. For, so far from nursing himself between the rounds, Morphy got through 80 level games in a great number at various odds. So overwhelming was his success that when, after the end of the Congress, he wrote to Perrin, secretary of the New York Chess Club, offering pawn and move to any member of the club, the challenge was not considered presumptuous. It was taken up by C.H. Stanley, who, after winning one only out of the first 5 games, resigned the match in the $100 stakes. Morphy was anxious, it is said, that the challenge should be accepted by Thompson, who, in spite of a score of 8-0 against him in level games, declined to admit that the other was pawn and move better than himself. No match between them came off at present, but 18 months later, Thompson took the odds of knight and was beaten 5-3. Okay, but anyway, here's the point. Listen to this. In December, Morphy left home having a record in New York of 100 level games played with only 5 losses, including the one tournament game lost to Paulson and one against the Constellation Party. And 160 games at odds, mostly of night, with only 36 losses. All right, so there you go. I mean, basically, my point is he threw a lot. In between his games, he was beating other guys offhand. The guy couldn't get enough chess, you know what I mean? He ate, he slept, he drank, he played chess. Chess. He was hammering out those wins. He was beating everybody in sight. All right, so here we go. So here we got one on record, okay, one of these offhand games, which we just mentioned. C.H. Stanley, right? $100 on the line, okay? Here it says Charles Henry Stanley, born in England in 1819. In 1841, he beat Staunton in a match, receiving pawn and 2 moves. Coming to U.S. was soon one of the foremost players and writers on the game there. Before meeting Morphy, Stanley had beaten Rosario in a match by 15 games to 8. And when he defeated Rosario to 1857, he was looked on as champion of the States. So you got to forgive me, folks, I don't have my reading glasses. My God, you couldn't write this any smaller. I mean, wait, let me just run this. I think I skipped a line. My eyes are betraying me here. You know how you see bloopers in chess, your eyes deceive you? I mean, we're all familiar with that, right? My eyes are playing tricks on me here. It says, wait, before meeting Morphy, Stanley had beaten Rosario in a match by 15 games to 8, and also Schulten. From 1845, when he defeated Rosario in 1857, he was looked on as champion of the States. All right, the bottom line, we got a contender here, right? A tough player. He took place in the American Chess Congress, and I got the table of contents, which players, let's see, which players played who. Stanley, okay. Let's see here. Lichtenstein, okay. Lichtenstein defeated Stanley in the first round, okay. Morphy going on to play Lichtenstein in round 3. Round 1 was Lichtenstein versus Stanley. Lichtenstein won that with 3 wins. There was 2 draws, and Lichtenstein didn't lose at all. So, all right. Here we go. Stanley has the white pieces, and if you notice, Morphy given odds of a pawn. They take the F pawn here, the F7 pawn. See that? All right, and Stanley goes first with the white pieces, so it's pawn and move advantage. All right, Morphy adopting the French defense. How about this, huh? Morphy with the French defense. He feels we're down a pawn. He's playing the French, right? All right, so here we go. Now, Stanley passes on the advanced variation, right? E5. We get a load of this. Fireworks already. Watch this. The standard continuation for the odds receiver against the French defense line here adopted by Morphy has always been queen check. Got to block it, right? Now you swing it to E5, hitting that rook on H8. All right, now you bring your knight out to block. All right, pin. Then you break the pin with your bishop. And here it says bishop E7 is best. Then they got the white square, light square bishop checking on B5. Pawn up. Now watch this. They give this. Look at this mistake. Knight up, question mark. Look at this. Pawn takes pawn, right? Now, obviously, if you take here, folks, right, you'll lose the knight outright because this guy's pinned on E7. See that? The pawn moved from E6. Look. Now it's pinned. You lose a piece. All right? And this guy's still pinned. He can't take the queen on E5. All right, just a little tactical trick there. All right, so look at this. So instead of taking here, they give the line. They don't even mention that. I'm just showing the obvious, I guess. But here you go. They got this move, hitting the bishop. All right, you take my knight, I'll take your bishop, right? All right, fine enough. That's the line. They give it, right? You take the bishop. And now look at this. Now the pawn goes in and takes, right? So what do you do now, right? Because you're going to lose a piece. The pawn's forking the rook and bishop. All right, so you got to take that guy, right? So now look at what you got. Just to add the engine so I'm not misleading you at all. I'm going to make sure I do this right. Right, here we go. Right off the bat, here we go. We got the engine already. Okay. See, yes, you can win the bishop. I saw this, right? Forking. You get the bishop. I mean, you do this. There you go. You lose this. Let's see. He takes this one first. All right. And I guess if you take here, he takes this one. Right? And the engine didn't even want to do that. He wanted to save the light square bishop by going here, I guess. Right? And then you could, you could save this guy. The engine likes moving it here. I mean, we're not really giving the engine time, but the bottom line is you lose a piece, folks. Once the bishop takes this pawn, there's the pawn fork. See that? The queen fork taking the pawn on b5. Queen fork. Check, and you grab this guy. Whoops, wrong square. There you go. Don't want to move to d5. All right. So anyway, I mean, look. Okay, here's how the engine was saying this. You bring this guy over here. Either way, you lose this guy. See. I mean, no matter what you do, you bring the queen up. I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to lose that guy over there. So there you go. See the trap? There's the trap. Now, here they give a better move, though, for black within all this hoopla, right? Here we go. They got pawn takes pawn on move 7. And get a load of this. But it just says, if black takes the bishop, right, after this, you got white. Let's see, wait, where are we? Oh, okay. That's the line, right? But they're giving this as better. Let's see. The check, right, they're giving the pawn. Here we go. We go to this, you pin, you unpin. The check, not knight. Okay, that was the whole line with the knight. They're saying this one, right? Okay, and now they give pawn takes pawn regardless, right? They do that anyway. Now, you don't want to take the knight, because then you're giving up this guy, right? You don't want to take with the knight on d5. This guy's pinned still. Remember that. Don't you forget it, all right? So now, what ends up happening, if black now takes the bishop, this is what the line's saying. If he takes the bishop here, okay, white replies pawn to d6. Black's best move now, all right, however, is not to take the, okay, if you take this guy, right, however you do it. If you take like this, you trade queens, and the bishop's diverted, and you lose the knight, right? If you don't trade queens, if you just take, you take like this, well, now you can just take here. See that? So you'll win the knight on f6 either way. You get your piece back. You're not up a piece. You get the piece back. All right, but I guess you have a better position too now, right? Look at this. The engine's saying to take, take. All right, your castle hitting the bishop. Bishop goes back here, right? And it's a game, folks, you know. Black's got the bishop here, but his pawns are pretty busted up. And he's got, let's see, is he even down a pawn, I think? Yeah, he's down one pawn, and his pawns are pretty busted up. Ugly looking pawn on e6, right? Isolated pawn. It's a target, folks. You're just going to basically control e5, right? Oh, it's black's move. Okay. Maybe you should just get rid of that pawn, you know, right off the bat, if you can. But anyway, all right, they're saying this. All right. Strengthen that pawn on d4. I mean, it's black who has the weakness. Looks like he's going to try to trade him off. Maybe that's the idea here. Look at, yeah, black's got play. I mean, it's interesting. He's not down. Look at the evaluation, half a pawn. So I mean, it's a game. This guy, he's probably going to try to trade him off. Maybe play e5 at some point. Trade him off for the d4 pawn. But anyway, he's got to block. He's got to maybe get a piece. Maybe bring the knight. Maybe bring the knight there, like this, so the pawn can't move up, and then you push e5. Yeah, there's some ideas. Who knows? But anyway, that's the line they give, right? If he was to take here, black doesn't win a piece. He gets it back with this. See that? He gets the knight on f6 back. However you want to do it. All right, so get a load of this though. They say here not to take the bishop, castles, against which white must proceed with care. There you go. How about that now? Right? So there you go. That's a game. Who knows what happens? That's what they gave. The old masters gave those notes. Interesting stuff, right? This being the common follow-up. See that? All this stuff. Block, pin, unpin, check, pawn up. Pawn takes pawn, castles is best for black. See that? So don't always jump to grab your opponent's pieces right off the bat. Sometimes you got better, you know? All right, so anyway, here we go. Let's get into the game, the game itself, though, folks, right? What we got going here was this. Stanley advances. All right, in Morphy, c5, striking at d4. Common theme in the French, the d4 square, you pile up on it. Okay, here goes the bishop. Question mark for Stanley. Morphy himself considered bishop to d3 best here. Okay? That's because, let's just make a senseless move over here. When you get the queen check, if you're going to have to block it. I mean, look at the engine given, just get out of dodge. You got to get out of there. Look, if you try to block, very common in the French, look out for this bishop sack right here. Right? It's a check move too. If you take like this, he wins your rook. See? And sometimes if you got other pieces ready to attack, you could jump right in with maybe even just taking with the queen with check. But in this case, it might not be best because he's got this guy, see? If he was forced to come up, you could come in with the bishop, you know? If there was a knight or a bishop on d7, black's knight, you know, if black had a piece on d7 with that escape square wouldn't be available for the king like this, right? He'd be forced here, and then you could come down with the bishop. Forget about it. You're going to win that queen. You see what's going to happen here? Can't block, folks, so who cares if you block? You take, just like this, right? All right, you're going to be, that's it. Game over, all right? Game over. This is just some of the threats. You understand? That bishop sacrifice, the point is, you could, in this case, you'd win the rook, right? Because if you take the pawn, yeah, you get 2 pawns for the bishop, but the king's getting over to safety. He'll slide to c7. He'll get the knight out. Excuse me. He'll get the queen knight out, and queen, bishop. He'll be fine over there. All right, so, you know, the thing about the French, it's a very solid defense, okay? It's a very tough nut to crack. All right, so anyway, here we go. Here we go. Morphy's playing it, you know, he's playing it down a pawn, remember. So here we go. We got this c5, and instead of this, as recommended by Morphy as best, Stanley plays this. They give him a question mark. All right, look at this. Now the queen comes out. All right, attacking b2. Stanley protects it by advancing. Here comes the knight, the queen knight. Look, they're all piling on d4, you see? All right, white defends. Morphy takes anyway. And get a load of this. Stanley takes with the bishop. All right, so Morphy grabs it. He's got the bishop here now. All right. And after knight takes bishop, knight takes knight. And look at this. Now Morphy bringing the bishop out with tempo, threatening that knight on d4. Okay. Measly pawn push, c3 protects the knight. Okay. But he's not really getting ahead in development in any way. All right, here comes Morphy now, developing the king knight to e7. Check by Stanley, which now that knight swings up to c6. How about that? Blocking it out. I guess he wants to retain the bishop, huh? He could block like this. I mean, that would force Black's king up, so he couldn't castle at all. All right, so Morphy's saving his castling privileges by throwing the knight up there. And get a load of this one. Get a load of this, right? Stanley takes. Huh? He takes that guy. Now Morphy just, the b-pawn, moving closer to the center, right? Capturing towards the center. Can have more center control. All right? This is good for, this is solidifying his d5 pawn, right? He's got strong pawns in the center. It's what you want in your opening. Okay, look, if and you're thinking about it, I don't know. I didn't really give it much thought here, but after this, right? Actually, after you destroy the, okay, make a measly move over here, senseless move, right? You win a piece because you destroy the defender. See that? All right, he's got check though. He's got check. My point being, if he recaptures here, you win the bishop, right? The knight was protecting the bishop. Okay? Now, if that had happened, right? If he does some, let's just say, you know, he castles. That's just a good move, right? So if you take here, all right, he's got the in-between check, so he doesn't lose a piece, right? He wouldn't lose a piece like this. All right, so anyway, there you go. But I don't know, maybe Stanley was feeling, you know, he doesn't want any tricks happening. So he gets rid of the bishop. Trades the bishop for the knight. Morphy taken with the pawn. All right, fine. Here comes the check with a question mark, right? Why? Because it really doesn't go anywhere now. Look, you push the pawn up. Now the queen's got to waste another move. Where's she going, huh? I mean, you don't have this anymore. It's not like in the early stage what we looked at, right? All right, so Stanley parks the queen on g4, right? So now Morphy castles as the cement mixer drives on by here out my window. All right, so now, all right, where we are. Morphy castles. All right, baby. He saved those castling privileges, right? Now, makes sense when you castle short here, because you're down, you're giving the f-pawn as odds, right? So you got the open f-file, might as well utilize it with your rook, right? So Morphy castles, now the rook is on f8, right down, beaming down. Lo and behold, if the knight moves, right, if he tries to, who knows why it would move, but you see the f2 square, they're bearing down on it. The battery of the bishop and queen, right? Dark square battery and the rook on f8, forget about it, come on. They're all piling up. All piling up on that poor little pawn on f2. All right, so what does Stanley do? All right, he castles. All right, he backs up that f2 pawn with his own rook. All right, gets to safety. Here comes Morphy. Look at this, from all across, from left field. Look at this, all the way across from left field or right field, however you're looking at it. Attacking that rook on f1, huh? Now look at this. Stanley ignores it, grabs a pawn with check. Okay, king over, right? Now they give a question mark to that move. Look at this. If he swings, okay, first he swings. There's a lot going on here, folks. Look at this. Look, watch this. This is crazy. Okay, you got the king moving over, right? It's move 16, right? Look at this now. If he takes, first of all, he's risking losing the exchange, right? So he moves this rook over here, right? Because I mean, let me just throw in a stupid move, right? You got this. You got losing the exchange is one threat. Not only that, you got this, right? Taken. There, you could lose a pawn there, and you're threatening. I mean, you could lose this pawn. Big deal. You win the rook in the corner, right? Or maybe you take this. I mean, heck, you win the rook over here. What's going on? Look at this craziness, huh? I mean, you got threats all over the place. So, you know, if the rook moved, for instance, if the rook, what does he do? Stanley moves the rook. This is his actual move. He moves it to D1, all right, protecting, getting out of this threat, right, of losing the exchange. And he's also saving, the pawn, like this, right? All right. So he's killing two birds with one stone, but get a load of this move, right? He goes here. And now the king, this rook swings right over here, attacking the queen. Now, get a load of this. The queen pulls back to G4. Had he tried to win this pawn, you see the mistake that is, folks? Look at this. We take the knight. You see it? And white's busted. Simple little tactic. Remember this one. Because now you just destroyed the knight, which defends the queen. The queen's hanging. So if you try to take back, boom, you lose the queen, right? And in this scenario, if you try to go, all right, there's no checks, folks. There's no checks to get out of this one, right? I mean, there's a check here, but it's covered, right? Okay. So if he tries to trade queens, you see it already, right, folks? Bishop just slides on back. They're real slick, these bishops, They're moving and shaking, grabbing pieces and running back. I mean, forget about it. White's busted here, right? Look at that. Just instant replay. Look. You come right back before. White's going, wait, where did he go? What happened here? Where did he go? In the blink of an eye, baby. All right, so there it is. All right, so what do you have? You have, after this rook move, right? After the rook slides over, no way to Stanley fall for this one, okay? He runs out of dodge. He goes back to G4, okay? All right, so there he goes. He's out of the enemy position, running back to G4. Okay, and now we got move 17, right? 17, okay. Here we go. Now that allows Morphy to just gobble up the E5 pawn. Okay, now look at this. You got to get those pieces out, right? Queen knight to D2. All right, the bishop slides back, attacking the queen. The queen, Stanley parks it on G3. All right, now look at this. Morphy moving the other bishop with waiting for the rook to move with an attack on the queen. All right, Stanley doesn't like that. He gets out of there, off that dark diagonal, out of the scope of the bishop. All right, to D3 she parks, right? Now you got the bishop coming back. Look at this, a nuisance. Going back and chasing the queen. Come on, leave me alone. Stanley pulls it back. And right here it even says, Morphy at ACM, I think that's American Chess Monthly, suggests to move this. Morphy himself suggested the pawn push. All right. So anyway, but Stanley runs and ducks for cover on C2, and here we go. We moved the rook over here. Now they're beaming down on H2. First it was F2. Now it's H2. Right. All right. Just to make sure that rook was on E8. Okay, E5, and now it swings over to H5. Okay, attacking H2. All right, and here we go. This is the mistake. This, I think, is what cost Stanley. He swings his other piece. He figures, I got to get him in the game, right? Swings him over to start defending H2, but that's a losing move. Better was H3, recommended by the old masters, okay? H3 was better. That's all the notes say. Doesn't credit anyone specific, but here you go. Stanley with the queen knight to F3. Why does that lose, folks? Well, let's think about this, right? If that knight is defending h2, we could sack this rook, right? And then we get in, then we, after he takes, we get in over here, right? One way or the other, you know, we'd win that h2 pawn. But he's got the other one you're yelling. You're yelling at the screen. He's got the other knight. He'll just take back with the other one. Yes, that is correct. So what does Morphy do? Well, he boots this guy out of there first, right? Makes sense. You see how the combination develops? All right. He swings the knight back here. Now he sacked the rook. Exclamation point. Makes sense, right? Pawn takes, and get a load of this one. He doesn't even go in for the pawn. The engine, look at the engine up there. Bishop takes, right? Grab it now with check. All right. Anyway, let's take the engine off. Let's just go with the master himself, the man of the hour, Paul Morphy. Let's watch what he does. Okay, we'll take the engine off. There we go. Bada boom, bada bing. There you go. Now let's focus on what Morphy does. Here he is. Look at this. He brings the queen back. He's going to shift the queen back over to the king side, get in that attack, bring the big guns over there. All right, now it was funny. I'm reading the notes, and it says this is descriptive. This descriptive notation, folks. It's not F4, C4. It says pawn to queen, bishop 4, right? This one. Now, when I first read it, I thought, oh, he's blocking the queen check, right? He's blocking this guy from coming here. But no, I read it wrong. It's pawn to queen, bishop 4, which is another way to say pawn to c4, right? I don't know. They made it very complicated back in the day. But that's, I don't know, blocking this guy for now, right? But lo and behold, let's see now what goes on here, right? Rook takes pawn. Morphy goes in with the rook. All right, rook takes pawn, and look at this. Now, I guess that's the idea. He's going to take he takes the d5 pawn with his rook, so now the queen can't come over here, right? Queen can't get in there. All right, big deal. Now the queen comes up here. He's threatening mate on f2. Queen takes f2, right? Strong move. All right, here we go. Stanley gets in a check. King over. Goes nowhere now. What's going to happen? Look, I mean, we got all different stuff going on. We got the queen. Let's just throw in a silly move, right? We got the queen mate this way. We could go this way. He comes up, right? We got the mate that away. We got this away, that away, every way. I mean, it's pretty much black as toast, right? It's all over. The last move here is knight up, trying to block out this guy at least, and, you know, you can't check over here anymore. But look at this, lo and behold. The queen slips right by. She's going to jump on G2 with mate, right? And that's a thing to remember. You see, with these pawns doubled up, they create like a wall, and there's no time to defend. Sometimes you got the white forces can defend on the side over here, you know. Sometimes they could come in sideways to help defend. But I mean, here it's a lost cause, folks. There's nothing that could happen. You know, nothing that white could do to save himself. It's all over. I mean, how do you stop mate? You can't, right? So there you go. Rook to h3 and mates in 3, right? Here we go. Look at it. Look at the spitefulness. Look at this. Now, Stanley resigned. Don't get me wrong. He wasn't doing this like a buffoon. Look, you go there. The computer tries this stuff, you know. You take here, and then there you go. You get 2 spiteful checks. They both get off the board in the box, and, you know, Queen G2's coming no matter what anyway, right? You take this guy off the board. You saw a loser. Look at this. All right, there you go. Game over. All right, so there you have it. Morphy against CH Stanley in an offhand game, giving odds of a pawn and move to Stanley. And he makes quick work of it. Well, let's see. How long was this? Doesn't give the time. Doesn't give the how many hours, or if it was even an hour. Who knows? Offhand game, maybe it was a little quicker. All right, so anyway, there you go. That concludes the American Chess Congress in Morphy's Games of Chess. Okay? Section 2 coming up, baby. Stay tuned to find out what goes on, right? Where does history lead us next? All right. Thank you very much. I hope you tune in to the next episode. All right. Have a good night.